All right.
Okay,
All right.
well, it's the final week of the Kickstarter, the AEGIS2 Kickstarter. We just hit $88,000 moments ago. That's great. Welcome back to the AEGIS stream. Today we're going to celebrate all of our amazing successes making this cool robot game, and we're going to go over all of the stuff in the box. Not like all of it, but we're going to go over the playable robots in the box. There's a lot to go over. I'm joined by our community manager Yampi, and yeah, I guess we're just gonna do like a comment on every sort of thing. We'll try to. There's 100 robots to look at. So if we spend 1 minute on each one, we'll be here for a while. So we'll go over them faster than that, but we'll this will be good because yeah, on a lot of our Kickstarter updates, I've been showing a lot of the art on Kickstarter and Twitter and other places, but we haven't really shown a lot of the cards outside of doing the streams. So we're gonna talk about the game for once instead of just all of our amazing lore and art and stuff. So why don't we get started? The first 50 or so robots are what we started out with at the start of the campaign, separated out into 5 or so teams. And then from then on, we get into like some of the Kickstarter unlock content, and that'll be cool to get to. But let's talk about robot number 101, because Aegis 1 had 100 robots in it, so we just start Aegis 2 at number 100, 101. The first, each of Aegis 2's teams are around 9 robots apiece. So it'll go, the pre-built teams that you pull out of the box the first time, they're about 9 robots apiece, 5 basic robots, and then 4 combined robots off in your little fusion deck. And that's basically how these cards are arranged in our little slideshow today. So the first card we're looking at here is Aegis 2's main character and her robot, or vice versa. Maybe the main character is the robot and the human characters are obviously just accessories. This is a combining robot game after all, not a cool gym leader character game featuring robots. Anyway, so this is the Omni Triple O, character design by Gentrigger, and then designed by, then like re-illustrated by pretty much all of our artists at this point have touched and put their own little flavors on the Omni. It has a star for a head. It's a really cool design. In terms of actual gameplay, the robot has the ability to combine with anything. Normally, when you combine in this game, you match the letters in the name, like an AE robot named Ender, whatever, would need to have the blue robot be named Ender, and then any A robot. Omni's wild card ability at the bottom lets it combine with anything as if it were any letter in any name. Well, not anything, but it counts as any of your other robots, any of your other basic robots. She can kind of copy. So you can put it together with the blue robot to make a green and blue robot. The sky's the limit. And then, of course, her main attack is the Lucky Gambit Knuckle Shuffle, which uses Aegis 2's new Gambit mechanic, where you can dump extra dice into your attack, but it might fail. So yeah, that's Ashla. She runs up and punches, and she combines real good. She has strong synergy with some of the other robots on her team, which we'll get to in a second. Also, somebody totally just hopped in. Who is that? It's Crows. Never mind. All right,
Hey.
so yeah, Omni. Next, this is, by the way, this is Crows. He is the writer, vocalist, among other things, of Aegis 2's theme song, which
Yep.
like 3,000 people have watched on our Kickstarter page right by now. You're so famous.
Apparently, people think it's legit, so I'm all down for it.
That's good. Yeah, no, I like I do like it when people call it a banger.
By the
One of
way,
the yes.
I heard that this is a wrap-up stream, but how dare you have a wrap-up stream without a wrap to go with it?
Go away. We only have we have not 3 hours to get through 100 of these robots. But you're welcome to hang out and offer color commentary. So anyway, robot number 2,
So,
100. It fires a rocket punch. Yes, Crows?
I just
yeah.
realized that there is a fatal error in this, in that
Oh, no.
the slideshow is putting the cards like the tags, instead of putting 2 after 1, it put 10 after 1, so it's on.
Oh no, I think what is your thing doing, it goes 1, then 10, then 100, and then all the other cards are in the correct order.
Oh, it might be. Yeah.
Because I messed up. Well, we can do this, whatever. What's robot number 10?
That's
Ganith?
Yeah, Ganith.
Ganith, out of order, but here she is. So this is the G Commander in the box, and she is a surly Bostonian on the planet Sagaya, and she has this turtle robot named the Gamera, obvious reference to unnamed monster movie, where there's a giant turtle. And her gimmick is that she has an ability called Reload. Everybody hates missing dice, so she's one of a few commanders that have a commander ability that lets your whole team get a bonus whenever you screw up a die roll when you're attacking. In this case, she actually gives all of your other robots reroll 1 after the first miss of your turn. So that's pretty cool. Basically, someone misses, everybody else gets more accurate. And that's a good example of like some stuff that we were thinking about while we were designing AEGIS2. And then we're going straight to card 100.
Yeah, Omni 001. So the other form of Ashla.
It's another form of Ashla. We're still designing this one because it's card 100, but we'll just go to next on that because we have some cool designs for Robot 100 that are not ready to show yet. But now are we back to 2?
Now we're on the Actal 500.
Why?
Because that's number 11. I can just try to fix the thing quickly.
It's okay. Yeah, let's find Robot 2 and see what happens. Or fix the thing, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Robot 2 should be the awe. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Alright, so we're on the awe. Alright. Poster child red robot of the set. Built for power and spectacle. Rocket punches. Giant robot staple. What else is there? It's an A-type with a slightly longer range attack than normal, and it has this new accelerator ability. When we were designing AEGIS2, one of the first things we were thinking about, like, how can we make combining more gooder and funner and stuff like that. So accelerator is one of several new combining centric mechanics where you can just pay an amount of energy, go zoomies across the board, and then combine for free. You can also use it to move further than the robot would normally able to move. So like awe normally moves 4, accelerator can move you 6. And then even if you're not combining, it's a great repositioning tool, especially if you're playing Starpoint Arena, our new game mode, which you can see streams of, replays of those streams on our YouTube channel, as I mentioned in the new update. Let's see, robot number 3, Ender. Let's see, did that actually come up? Or are you doing the flippy floppy to find each
Ender 200, there we go.
Yep. Oh no. Alright, so similar to Awe, this is an Ender, art by Zarin Scribbles, whose art I have not been diligent enough in showcasing. Very good piece here. And then boop boop boop. Similar to Awe, has accelerator, moves further than normal, also has Gambit. So it's kind of like you'll see every team has some overlapping mechanics, so the game's actually easy to learn. So that's what we did here. And then we can go to next robot, Gla 100.
All right. Yep.
Yep.
I hotfixed the thing, so it's showing them in proper order.
That's great. So yeah, these are also all subject to change in the final game. I don't think we're trying not to adjust any of like the first 50 robots in the set because they've been tested a lot, and they're pretty good. But things like flavor text and specifics of like reminder text and robot placement, we'll be refining those before we hit print on the game. This boy, cute, Gla 100. It's Beyblade. It spins. Unlike other robots on Ash's team, this robot has the push mechanic that everyone loved from AEGIS2. It lets you yeet other robots, allies, or enemies across the board and throw them into things. This one, because it's a Beyblade, it has a radial attack. It's just cool. And then we're going to go 4, which is the new SSM. And that last art was by Gentrigger. This one is by Noah. You're going to see a lot of Noah stuff on the first couple teams. So yeah, SSM200 also has Gambit, also has Accelerator. This is also one of the cooler designs because normally S's are really slow, but this robot has Accelerator 5, letting you move a lot faster and combine a lot easier. So because normally S's are kind of constrained to your backline as they waddle up and do stuff, but not SSM200. It can just go zip zoop and make a big robot. And then we're going to go to all 1000. We're going to get into some of the spicy robots. AE robot. Unlike all the other AE robots in the game up until now, this one doesn't fly. It just goes fast. Similar to the robots that make it up. It has rocket punches and gambits and things like that. It has a better accuracy and higher damage output. When you create it, you get to ping everything 3 around it for 1 damage. And so you can do some radial shenanigans. You can like go zoomies with Accelerator, combine in the middle of your opponent's team, and then deal damage to everyone around it. That's some of the cool sort of things that Ashla does.
Have you talked about Gambit yet? Because that's a thing that her team does.
Yeah. Gambit is something that we're working on refining right now, but the general gist is this attack would normally roll 2 dice, looking for 3s or better. The all rocket punch combo. Roll 2 dice, get 3s or better, deals 1 damage apiece. Gambit allows you to dump more energy into the attack and roll even more dice. Let's say if I want to roll like 6 dice. But if you do that, the whole attack might fail, and we're still working on the failure condition. At the moment, it's if any 2 dice in that extended attack fail, the whole attack will fail, but we're like going back and forth on it a little bit. But either way, you can gamble to one-shot your opponent, and that's also a very big theme of Ashla's team. If you're going back on, if you're on like your back foot and you're worried you're going to lose, who knows? Dice roll a victory. It's all about that Gambit. Risk it for the biscuit. And then over to SSM200. SSM 2000 ES robot. This is also cool. Another Noah masterpiece. ES robots are like spaceships, basically. They take the shippiness of S-types and then the flying shippiness of E-types and put them together. This one fires rockets everywhere. So it comes into play, it deals 2 damage, and then it has this absolutely ridiculous bottom attack that just shoots rockets in all directions, 4 spaces, and has arcing. It shoots over and around things. It's just really good. Normally AES robots are fragile, and this one is definitely a bit fragile at 4 HP, but if you can, zoom behind walls or shoot from far away with the top attack, it is a very good ranged attacker. And now one of the coolest kind of marquee robots of the set. Oh wait, never mind. Nope. Well, yes, this one's actually on the box. So Gla 1000. Gala 1000, another great Zarin Scribbles piece of art. It is a Gla with arms. It goes spin, 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 spin. This one I might look at a little bit before we print it because both of its attacks are melee attacks, and I think it might need something. But it's cool. It's combinability. It's built like a house. It has 700. I mean, it has 7 HP, pretty high. It comes into play, makes itself invincible, and everything around it. So to make up for like Ashla's sort of like glass cannon strategy, you can like rush in, gambit some dice, totally screw it up, and then walk up with Gla and combine and make it invincible for a turn. So it helps Ashla from overextending. And now, awesome. capping off Ashla's team is the awesome AES robot. Has 3 attacks like a lot of level 3 robots do. The main gimmick here, it shoots rocket punches, and punches that are rockets. It has a long range attack, a medium range attack, and a short range attack. Kind of similar to Einer's level 3 from AEGIS2. It also had a long, medium, short range sort of gimmick to it. This one is cool though because it has this new Arc Buster ability. Named after the kind of core set from AEGIS2. It's like, what is Arc Buster? Well, Arc Buster is a cool little weapon that the Allied provinces were whipping up that lets their robots attack 3 times. That's exactly what it does. So this one actually lets a robot activate 3 times. That's moving. You can move 3 times and attack 3 times. Really powerful, really energy intensive. Like AES robots work best when there's a bunch of other energy that your robots are giving you. But you can like run up, punch someone in the face, run backwards, shoot from far away, because these attacks, its top 2 attacks have like these like donut ranges. They have minimum range, so they can't shoot things that are near them. So you'll be doing like a lot of like tap dancing with this robot and shooting rockets and stuff. And of course, you could also just hang back and shoot the top attack 3 times from a million spaces away. Really good tech. Just dump 12 dice on your opponent. Hope it's good enough. In modes where turns alternate, I go, you go, I go, you go, Arcbuster still activates consecutively. And so it's also powerful in that mode because it kind of breaks the turn order, and this robot can just do a bunch of stuff in a row before the opponent gets to go. So really good in solo mode. So it's a boss killer, this guy.
I'm curious to see when we have the next tournament how this affects this feels like it could be a meta-defining card in the competitive landscape with just how strong, you're probably going to want to have something on your team that can deal with the potential of awesome.
Yeah, it's because similar to in AEGIS2 we had that the GS awesome was pretty well used, which also had had that arcing shoot from a million spaces missile attack. This one's like, if you can get up close to awesome, it's actually quite not threatening, but if you make it from far away, it just starts shooting at you. But then as soon as you start closing the distance, it's a lot less threatening. It only has like 6 HP and no evasive abilities. And then once you lose it, you've basically bad things will happen since it's more than half of your team. But I'm also very interested the next time we do a tournament to see how a lot of these robots do in competitive. Then we go Ganith. We talked about Ganith. Grants rerolls to missed robots. And we can go to Actyl. Cool robot composition with the backgrounds. Little known fact, we have backgrounds and then we have robots, and then I have to assemble the robot onto an appropriate background, and usually I have to make the shadow of the robot too, and it's like a whole process to make the art for each card. This is an example of one that came out pretty good, I think, and like compositionally. But yeah, Actyl, it's a basic A robot. It's a pure Actyl's pierce with like spears. This one has a bullet spear. It's pretty cool. And then this is our first showcase of a really big AEGIS2 mechanic. The level 1 combine abilities. So normally in AEGIS, when you combine robots together, the new robot gets an enter the battlefield ability, and it shoots a bunch of stuff or heals or does some other things when it comes into play. In Aegis 2, some level 1, like single letter robots, have combined abilities. So when you combine with them, it'll proc like a minor thing. And then if you do a bunch of those, you can proc like 3 combine abilities when you combine in this game. That's like you can like resolve them in any order you want. It's pretty cool. It adds a splashy swinginess to combining. Makes it feel good to combine. In this case, Actyl just gives a damage buff to somebody when you combine with it. Strong, simple. Let's see, and then we'll go over the Goth next. Goth 200. Look at this boy. Look at him go. One of our best robot arts in the game. Another Noah piece, just like Actyl was last time. So in the first Aegis, there were 3 quote-unquote faction abilities that only appeared on robots that had these faction tags on the top left. We had Jet for the blue faction, which gave you discounted movement, and then Cloaking for the purple faction, which lets you kind of like turn invisible and become untargetable. And then S, the yellow faction, had Combat Drop, which lets you like fling yourself on, start off of the board, and then like zoom you onto the board to surprise your opponent. A and G didn't have faction abilities in Aegis 1, so we thought we would kind of complete that cycle here with A's faction ability is Accelerator, so usually only robots with Accelerator. Robots with Accelerator are usually A faction locked, which means you can only use them with either robots with no tag or robots with red tags. Similar here, Return Fire is the Great States faction ability. And it took us a long time to get this ability right, but I think we finally landed on something good. It's basically Retaliate, but if somebody shoots one of your robots with Return Fire can return fire. So Ganith has this, and she just has like a big 2 damage like blast. But Goth has this, and it has a defense buff. So if somebody shoots one of your robots, Goth can shoot a defense buff and put it on another one of your to like prepare for more oncoming attacks. And that's kind of neat. And then because that was also another thing. One thing was people wanted combining to be cooler after Aegis 1, and people also wanted like more things to do on the opponent's turn. So we put in like some more cute things to like some more reactive things, and Return Fire is like one of our things for that. And then we go to Innate 2000, which is a Great States Intel robot, so it has some green paneling on there. So usually when Aegis like faction locks, when Aegis like faction locks an off-color robot like this, you'll see it like represented aesthetically, and they'll usually get some stuff that that class doesn't normally get. Like this robot, and a nade has 5 HP. Normally purple robots are a little bit squishier than that, but because this is like part tank and more restricted on its team building, you get 5 HP and you get Return Fire. And other than that, shoots a grenade, throws it over walls, does damage to robots. Pretty good. And then we got next, we have, these are all Noah, by the way. I think Noah did like Ganith's entire team in terms of artwork. So Sen 500, follow up to the laser robots from Aegis 1. We had a Sen in there and a couple Sen combines, and this is like a continuation of those. Goff and Actel were also robots in AEGIS1 that only had like 1 entry. So we're like following up on some robot types from AEGIS1. That's kind of neat. Just like Actel, this guy has got a combine ability. So when you combine with this robot, you get to basically add 5 energy to your pool. Like, it's just using this robot as like your generic S-type is just pretty good. Other than that, has a pretty strong laser. Does 1 damage in infinite range. Rolls some 6s. It does more damage because that's critical. So like, as you can see, Ganith Team's all about kind of like medium to long range attacks, hiding behind walls, shooting back at your opponent. She's the tank. She's the tank team, defensive team. And we can go to her combines now. The Ainer 2000, another Noah piece of art. So level 1 robots, like basic robots, are faction locked when they have the faction mechanic, but I decided to not put those on 2-letter robots and above for reasons I can't quite recall. I think it's just because we don't want combined robots to be restricted unless they're like particularly specific or egregious. We want you to be able to use combined robots on whatever. So if you are using a generic Ainer to make this robot, which there are a couple, you could still make this and still get access to the return fire ability, which is cool. And so yeah, the GI robot, it returns fire. It can shoot twice. It can shoot twice on your turn. It can shoot once on the opponent's turn. And it defense buffs. It grenades for damage. And because it has 2 combine tags, and you're going to see this as a theme on Ganith's combines, because like I said, we wanted to make combines more spicier and cooler. A lot of Ganith's robots have multiple triggered combine abilities. So this one comes into play. You can throw both grenades in either order you want. Defense buff some peeps, damage some peeps. And knowing when and where to combine is obviously very important. And then we get to the first not Noah art of this team, the Goffinade. I have a lot of favorite arts in this set, but this one's one of them. It's just so chunky. This is again Trigger. Just a big rumbly, tumbly GIS robot. GIS robots are basically just giant monsters. They don't have wings. They're really slow and they're not humanoid, so a lot of them kind of look like zoids. Like just big behemoths. This lobs 3 different grenades. It has a damaging grenade, a grenade that moves the opponents, and a grenade that defense buffs things. And then we have a new ability that's like an upgraded version. It's like the ultimate version of all of our retaliation abilities. It's called Revengeance, which was a placeholder name, but we'll probably just make it to print because it's really good.
It's a good name.
It's a really good name. Everybody loves that game. Metal Gear Rising Revengeance is still relevant 10 years later. It only gets more relevant by the day. So Revengeance, after any ally takes damage, this robot may activate. And that means activate's a magic word that means you can also do anything that a robot could normally do during activation. So you can move, you can attack, and you can use overload in this case. So if something else gets damaged on your turn, Goffinade can activate and throw 2 grenades during your opponent's, like right after your opponent hit you. And that's important. Also a feature of Revengeance is it's not actually bound to your opponent's turn or if you take damage from enemies. If you hit one of your own robots, you can proc Revengeance and activate this robot like a second time on your own turn. And that sounds bonkers, but I'm pretty sure we've tested it. And that's why the wording currently ended up that way. But like I said, everything's still going to be in testing, especially after we run some tournaments and stuff. We'll see how degenerate that actually is. But Revengeance, cool. And then Ganith's team, unlike Ashla, who had 3 2-letter robots and 1 level 3 robot, Ganith has 1 level 2 robot, so you kind of have to go through the Innate 2000 no matter what you want to do. And let's see, we actually have a question in the Discord that I can't type to right now, but somebody asked, will the precon teams have overlapping robots in the box? And the answer is no. There will be 10 pre-built teams in the box, but one of the teams has 4 commanders on it, and that's how it works. So 10 pre-built teams, one has 4 commanders, that's the challenger team. But other than that, everything does not overlap. And so you'll be able to kind of pick out and divide your cards pretty cleanly. So yeah, Ganith's second level 2 is... No, instead, again, a second level 3 is the Actal 5000. Big Spear Lad. Actals don't have a 2-letter robot, but they do have a 3-letter robot. 3 spear, just like the Gothinade had 3 grenades. This kind of has like 3 spear things that it does. It has 2 piercing lances and a harpoon gun that moves other robots around. And you can do 2 on your turn through overload. So you can do spear, or move somebody and then spear through them with the piercing ability. I didn't mention piercing, it's an AEGIS2 mechanic, but if the robots are all lined up neat-like on a straight line on the hex grid, the attack just goes through all of them. Very simple. But it's cool because, especially on the smaller boards, the 2-player boards in AEGIS2, it comes up a lot more often. And then finally, Ganith's topper on our team is the Actal 9000. And this is sort of like your big payoff robot for using Ganith. This is another Noah piece, big boy. Kind of inspired by the general shapes of like Giant Robo, just big rivets, big limbs. And it has an ability called Ultra Combine, which will proc all of your other combine abilities that have previously kind of activated on the robots underneath it. So you kind of want to climb that ladder up slowly. Like you want to make your level 2 and then level 3 and then maybe like side combine into your other level 3 and then like combine up to this thing. And then this will allow you to use a bunch of your combine abilities like all at once. You have to roll dice for them this time, but you basically, if you really wombo into this robot, you can combine into it and roll like 5 attacks or 10, or not 10 attacks. I bet somebody could figure, Goji could probably figure out 10 attacks to use with Actal 9000. But you can get like a big fireworks display when it comes into play. This is also the first time we see a text box ability. Another new thing in AEGIS2. Its Miracle Horizon Lancer it does what it says it does. So this will deal 3 damage to all of the robots along an axis in both directions. So like you see in the art, it has like this double-sided energy spear. It'll literally you just pick, one of 3 choices on the board. It'll shoot kind of in both directions and hit everybody along that hex axis. And we're trying to make sure, because text space is obviously a commodity, we're trying to make that as clear as possible. So that's one of the challenges of game making in general. And then we can get to team number 3. As you notice, this doesn't go in AEGIS order. The first kind of deck in the box is going to be AEGI and Ysis, which is an S team. So let's see. Indrix, good boy. He is our most loudest and coolest commander in AEGIS2. He has a guitar. His robot is a guitar. It's named the Itar. he has an ability where if you miss a die roll, you get to set an enemy on fire. Indrix's team is heavily based on two of our new mechanics called Blaze and Rust. Blaze is the status effect where you hit an enemy, and if they move, they'll take a damage, and that lasts for a turn. And then Rust is if you deal damage to the... Rust is if they attack, they'll take a damage. So it's kind of like a more interactive version of Restrain and Disarm from Aegis 1. We wanted to have more gameplay instead of abilities to just like shut things down. But yeah, so another example of a commander that just lets you do cool stuff even if you mess up your die rolls. And of course we gave him jamming just because he has a guitar. Like, why wouldn't you?
I did not make that connection until now, but I approve.
For a while, he had his commander ability was called Jam Session, and it like gave your allies jamming and stuff. That is something that we will do, or I will die. We will put Jam Session in the game somewhere, but not in Aegis 2. Let's see, Ab 600. Indrix is getting right off the bat. This is an art by Mong Thuda, who did a bunch of our Aegis 1 art. He came back really early in the Aegis 2 process to make some cool robots. And this is kind of like, it's a big tough lad that has 6 HP, but it's only melee range. If it stands still next to something, you can punch both of it. You can use both of its attacks to just punch something to death. And this is kind of really... This robot has a lot of interaction with the rest of Indrix's team. Not only can its attacks proc Blaze and Rust, but if we go to the next robot... No, not this one yet, but... the SO is a Rust robot. So basically, yeah, his A robot does Blaze and Rust. His E robot is a Rust robot. It'll shoot things from far away, and they'll take damage if they attack. And this is actually a faction-locked robot. It's Iris. It's the Iris Dominion's little surveying drone. And then we get to Ika. We'll go to the next robot. We'll go to Ika 500. This is where Indrix's team its gimmick kind of comes into being more obvious. So Indrix has a few robots on its team between this robot and some combines that let you move around. That's like literally lets you noodle them around the board. So you can set an enemy on fire with various blaze attacks on Indrix's team, and then you can use a movement attack to move them and proc that blaze damage. So his team's all about like stack a whole bunch of instances of blaze on somebody and then move them and then proc all the damage, or rust somebody and then move them away to make both moving and attacking extremely annoying. And this is a combined robot. This is like a combined basic too. So when you combine, you can move a robot 2 spaces, possibly maybe nerfing, because that's like deceptively powerful sometimes. And this robot's attack is also cool. It moves the robot 2 spaces, but then it'll also move itself 2 spaces because it has the self tag. So it does like a little dance. So Indrix's team is like kind of big brain, whereas Ashla's team is run in and punch and combine. Ganith's team is, stand still behind a wall and shoot at people. Indrix has some like wombo combo-iness to him, and you can really get a lot of payoffs if you kind of plan your turns right. And then his last basic robot is a Sha, new robot type in Aegis 2, the little dragon robot. It shoots fire. It shoots fire and it moves things. Another interaction on Indrix's team is some of his robots have overload. Overload is if you don't move, you can shoot twice. That can still happen if an ally moves you with like an attack. So you can like use the Ika or the Sha to kind of move the big meat fist Ab into range. And because Ab didn't move himself into that range, he can use overload later on. And so like, yeah, like I said, wombo combos. And other than that, yeah, Sha does fire stuff. And then getting into Indrix's combines. Abaca, strong robot, cool robot, Mong Thuda art. It can do stuff. New ability called Salvo comes into play. You can use all of its attacks for free, but you still have to roll dice for them. So that's neat. And then it does a similar thing to Sha, where you can blaze things and then move them, and it has the self movement from Ika. It's like a lot of ideas from the robots that kind of make it up. The new thing though is that this has melee evade too, so you can actually punch something. You can move something into range and set it on fire, and keep it next to Abaca, because if the opponent wants to run away or do anything, they're going to take damage because they're on fire. So Abaca kind of like traps the opponent next to you. It challenges them. Some of the placeholder names are really good. Get Over Near is probably making it to print. It was a placeholder name, but it's grown on me a lot. We can go to SO 2000. Indrix's team. Let's see. Ashla had 3 level 2s and level 3. Ganith's team had a level 2, a 3, a 3, and a 4. And now Indrix's team has a 2, a 2, a 3, and a 4. So there's a little bit of asymmetry on a lot of these precon teams. They all have 4 combines, but the way they work with them is all a little bit. I thought that was kind of fun. In AEGIS1, everybody had 2 level 2s and a level 3. In AEGIS2, we're trying to see, how much people enjoy having more combined. But yeah, SO 2000, it's an absolute menace. It has Corrosive Nova. It sets something on fire and it rusts them. Just miserable. Miserable robot. It's very annoying. It flies, it has jamming, it can rust you, it can blaze you. This is very much this is a robot for a certain type of player. Just keep dumping status effects. And then we can get to Indrix's level 3 robot. Another Mangthuta. Oh, that last one was Gentrigger. All the weird abstract robots in the game are arted by Gentrigger. And this is actually one of the first AEGIS2 arts done, like way a long time ago, by Mong. You can start to see, like, especially in some of the bigger robots, we're experimenting more with the art breaking the frame, like a cool Pokemon card. Because, we don't have minis in our games. The coolest part of our game is, like, the cards. So I wanted the cards to look cool. So I started to do lots of manual work to make a lot of the bigger cards neater looking. But yeah, this robot's cool. It has something called the Echo Hook Shot. It will pull itself to the target and set it on fire. And then because that's a light attack, you can use another attack afterwards or beforehand or whatever. So you can pull itself to a target, set it on fire, and then you can wail on it with the triple fire pile driver. Or you can then yeet it away by using the Ika Tenta Throw. Good names. And so it's like the Abaca, but like stronger and cooler. Cool squid robots. Somebody asked me a long time ago, like, what the biggest new thing in AEGIS2 was, and I told them that we just have a lot of squid robots. I don't know why it ended up that way, but man, we got squid boys for days. Indrix's level 4 does not have art yet. It is currently in play, but we used this robot on the stream last week when we did the Indrix versus Salazar stream, and this robot's lit. It's a weird one. It's the first and one of the only robots in AEGIS2 with X cost attacks, which means you can dump as much energy into it that you want, and then roll that many dice. And so it has 3 of those, and it has jamming X just to go along with it. And when you get to like these higher level 4-letter robots, using them can kind of become like a puzzle in of itself, because we wanted you're now staring at 1 or 2 cards in front. We just wanted the, we want the game to still be interesting to play, even when you're only controlling 1 or 2 robots. So Ikasha is an example of that. You have to figure out where you're allocating your energy. You have to figure out what order you're doing your attacks in, because Ikasha has 2 light attacks, which means it can, based on certain turns and certain arrangements, you can use all 3 of its attacks at once. So are you going to boost your own power with Party Hard? Are you going to then set stuff on fire with Burnination Party? And then are you going to try to move everybody on the mosh, which also might see print as an attack name. That's pretty funny. For the longest time, this robot's just kind of been like a weird black sheep in the set, because, like, I don't know, but it's weird enough. A lot of AEGIS1, we tried to peel away a lot of the complexity on the single letter robots in AEGIS2, and I think there needs to be more. I thought there needed to be more weird, ridiculous, high-level robots that kind of like make you scratch your head a little bit and do weird stuff. So this is a good example of that. Just kind of it's a party robot. Party. And then we can go to our 4th pre-built team, Scion 100. This is Ysis, commander number 6. Technically unlocked like immediately after we funded. She's kind of like the 6th. Aegis1 had like a 6th Power Ranger sort of character, where you had 5 main characters on each of the letters. Ainer, Olgamoon, Ixa, Stell, and then Diane was sort of like the unaligned person. And this time, Ysis is the unaligned character in the main cast, but it's not because she's like a rogue Mad Max sort of Furiosa person like Diane is, but because she is the quote-unquote neutral referee for the Sigia tournament, which is like the main plot line of AEGIS2, is everyone's in a G Gundam-esque tournament fighting over who is like resolving what on the world stage and who's going to be the best commander in the world. And because fighting in this tournament in sanctioned combat is now how all politics are done, which I think we could learn something from. But yeah, Scion, this is a team that also brings in a new mechanic. Not a new mechanic, but it's the energy drain team for AEGIS2. AEGIS1 had Ysis Team had some energy drain stuff on it. This Ysis picks up that torch. He does energy drain stuff. Her penalty shot ability, we're still editing the wording of, but TLDR, she just lets you have a free gimme attack on your opponent's turn, or after your opponent's turn. And then she herself can like drain enemies or boost energy of your allies, which is a new mechanic in AEGIS2. Only Scion does that. We might see some more with the backer commanders, but this robot can kind of add a green energy dot to things that it attacks, and that's cool. Let's see. So Ysis Team, all of the robots do energy drain, like this Arlie 400. So the joke here is that Arlies normally have like its main attack is a pistol, and then it has like an AoE buff. That's what all Arlies kind of do. This is like the reverse, where its attacks an AoE energy drain, and its buff is a single target sort of multi-hit pistol attack. So this robot can boost accuracy, can boost the accuracy of allies, and you'll see why. There's really no reason to it's good with all of your allies. Boosting accuracy in Aegis is really good. And it kind of synergizes with the rest of Ysis' team really well. Like, let's see this next robot, SO 400. We just saw an SO on Indrix's team. This is a Gen Trigger masterpiece. This is your neutral SO. It doesn't have the faction tag on it. It does 0 damage on its attack, but it does double rust if it hits something, which means that robot will take 2 damage if they attack. So that's that can be a bit oppressive to certain teams and certain robots and stuff like that. And if you drain out an enemy's robot, drain becomes damage. Like if your opponent has no more energy, if your opponent's robot has no more energy to drain, drain just becomes normal damage. So Ysis can, on occasion, just kill things straight up. Because man, this team does a lot of drain. And then we get to one of the best robots in the set. The Innate 600. I think this is the first 600 we see. No, we saw AB 600. So 600 robots with the little 600 number on them. There's totally a method to the madness of these robot naming conventions. But the Innate 600. The 600 style robots are all kind of like really hammy and gimmicky. They kind of like push that robot type to like the limitations of its design. So like AB is a slow melee robot, but it can just murder things with its 2 giant fists. Innate 600, Innate normally shoot like a little 1 or 2 little grenades. Innate just dumps 6 grenades on the enemy. And they hit on 5s or better, so not super accurate. But you could boost the accuracy with Arlie. Wow, you see some synergy there. This art done by Noah. I think this art and Arlie's were done like pretty much back to back, so they both have like a kind of a similar electric field effect. And this also has jamming 6, which is almost a meaningless ability, because you can just pay up to 6 energy to reroll up to 6 of your opponent's dice. I don't think anything in this set rolls more than 6 dice. I think some bosses do. Or if you have 2 copies of AEGIS2 and somebody's Innate shoots your Innate, you can pay 6 to re-roll all of their dice. But basically, all jamming 6 does is just means you can re-roll your opponent's whole attack. But to compensate, it has 3 health. If you see your opponent fielding this thing, shoot it immediately. Please get rid of it. It is a threat. And then lastly, we have the IVE 100. IVE is another robot that you'll see a bunch of in AEGIS2. It's a weasel made of USB cords. There's a few of these in the set. They all do this quell mechanic, which kind of deletes effects off your opponent's robots. So like these black tags that say quell, the quell gets rid of those. So for a whole turn, it'll just delete effects off your opponent's robots, which is really powerful, especially against certain robots that rely on those tags to like do anything. So hives are the great equalizer. And then we get into Ysis's combines. So in AEGIS1, Etwal was the kind of the main villain, and he had 3 specific combines to him. He had his XL, then his AEXL, and then his XL-Gon, which is still probably the best robot in the game. So we figured that AEGIS2 needs something like that. AEGIS2 needs a commander with 3 specific robots that go up to a big powerful thing. So that's the kind of the role that Ysis fills. She has her own personal level 2 robot here. It keeps her commander ability, it shoots more spears, and it can boost energy for everybody 3 around it. So if you actually make this on like turn 1 and just start spamming the power play attack, you can kind of max out your energy. Whether you'll have stuff to do with it is up to your team build, but I know on Ysis's base team, you're going to need lots of energy to shoot innate grenades. And you'll see another payoff soon. Next robot, Ysis's AI robot, is the IVE. It has a baseball cap. It's really cool. It has forks for days. Yeah, it energy drains stuff. It quells stuff. In the original design of the set, This was an AS robot, or I think it was also an AI actually. First it was an AS, then it was an AI. But yeah, this robot's name was this was actually supposed to be an Arlie. And it was designed as an Arlie. And even if you can kind of see where it has the pistol and the AoE on it still, that makes it look and work like an Arlie. But then we got art for an Ive instead. So then it became an Ive. And level 2 Arlie will have to wait another day to be in the game. And it also works because we have a level 3 Ive later in the set, and it just kind of like, forms a nice little go up. Yeah, cool robot. This is actually interesting where it has a double-edged buff. Its bottom attack is 100% accurate and will boost accuracy for other robots, which is really strong. However, if you hit something with it, those robots will get quelled and rusted. So their attacks become worse and they'll damage themselves if they attack too. So you can kind of use this on your enemies sometimes. Or you can use it on your allies, because like a 100% accurate accuracy buff is like really good, even if you do rust your ally. This is an interesting design.
I could see this working with Sindane's team to ignore the rust.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And let me think. So Ysis team actually does this, has yet another different team, has another different composition for her combines. She has 2 level 2s and 2 level 3s. Very different. Uh-oh, who just left? Was that Yampy?
No, it was somebody.
Ah, I didn't know somebody else was here. Alright. This is Ysis' ultimate robot. This robot is absolutely the art is really cool. All of this is again trigger piece. This robot has salvo. It is the most degenerate use of salvo because so salvo lets you use all 3 attacks when it comes into play. And what happens here is that it has a really good buff in the middle. It has an arcing energy drain thing on top, and it has this absolutely bonkers thing on the bottom called penalty all call that deals 6 to not deals 6. It deals an energy drain for each 6 you roll. So it can buff itself with the middle attack and give itself an accuracy and a damage boost. And then you can use penalty all call to hit on 5s plus 1 extra damage. However, and that's enough. That can be enough. If you roll really good on penalty all call, you can just fry your opponent like out of the game, basically. However, penalty all call also hits itself. So if this is a robot's like your last robot, or like one of 2 robots left that you have on your team, you could also kill yourself by draining away all of your own energy. Because this robot, it costs 9 to make, and it'll give you 9 each turn. But you could potentially just burn away everything, and reduce yourself below the energy threshold to continue playing. So this is it's a dangerous robot. Really fun to roll 8 dice though to hit everything in line of sight. Yeah, good robot. And then this is a cool. And this last robot is also one of the coolest art and kind of card compositions in the set. The ESO 6000. The ESO. This is kind of an example of what happens if you're playing base Aegis where you don't have robot resurrections. If you lose your commander, you lose your A type, or you lose like your I type or whatever. Suddenly, if you lose your A type, this is how this was designed. Because Arlie's made to go run up forward, and then sometimes your A types can just die because they're melee attackers. So how do you make Ysis' big cool robot if you don't have an A-type anymore. And so we kind of designed this robot where this is a big obnoxious level 3. It's an EIS robot, which are the weirdest robots in the game because they lack physical form. And they're kind of horrifying and eerie. But so this robot's main attack, the Nightmare Nova, is the most annoying attack in the game. It just inflicts every bad status effect. It drains your energy and then blaze rusts and quells you. It has a radius to it, so it can hit a bunch of robots. But the main gimmick on this team, the main gimmick on this robot is its middle attack, the Reveal True Form ability. What that does is that you can replace this robot with another 3-letter robot in your pool, your combined fusion deck. So even if Ysis died, you can go kind of like side into it. And I think the robot keeps damage. This is another one where we're figuring out the best wording for it. But the idea is, yeah, you would keep any damage on the robot that you can combine into. But like you can turn this EIS robot into like an AEGIS robot, like something completely different. And it's cool, and it costs 7 to do, but it's whatever. And it has, like, in the bottom attack's kind of a mirror of Arlesian's. It's just an infinite radius shooty-shoot attack. Alright, that completes deck 1 of AEGIS2. And so that's like 4 teams. You're kind of supposed to break it open. You can do a 4-player game. There's 4 pretty different strategies in there between drain, wombo combo, defense, and offense. So that's why you put those 4 teams together in the final box. It's also kind of like the order that we designed them into. And then, so we can go to the next deck, which is the Ethrael Salazar deck. And Ethrael and Salazar were both, these 2 teams are both designed at the same time, and you can see some overlap. Ethrael, strong commander. After Etwal, we couldn't make her weak, so she's really good. For this hummingbird robot's one of the first things that Gentrigger ever drew for us. Ethrael herself, drawn by Daniel Olsen, like long time ago, like after AEGIS1 funded, basically. And Ethrael's gimmick, she has 2 gimmicks. Number 1, she never misses. She rolls 3 dice, they all have to be 1 or better, and she'll deal 1 damage. But she has critical, which means each 6 deals a point of damage extra. And then recharge, a new mechanic in AEGIS2, where each 1 you roll will refund the whole cost of the attack. And so even though she'll always deal 1 damage, you still want to roll the dice to see what like bonus things you get. And then her second gimmick is she has an ability called Aether Wind. Normally in Aegis, you move once, you shoot once, then you're done for the turn. Aether Wind kind of gives all your Kanto from Fire Emblem, where they can move after they attack if you pay some energy. Just really, really powerful ability, especially for her like Starpoint arena. We're looking at if it's too good, but it's pretty fun to use, and it's really fun to like play with the positioning of it. Play with the positioning that it allows you to do. And then let's see here. Next, Valentine's Day robot. Amor 100. I think it actually should be Amor 500 because all 500 robots are the ones with the green thing on, the green combine abilities. Another A robot that has combined assault, gives the damage buff to things. We were trying to think of different combine abilities to give Actyl versus Amor, but at some point we realized, just having more than one instance of the ability in the set is good, because this robot and Actyl are very different and have kind of different use cases. So instead of just inventing more new mechanics, we decided to use some of our existing mechanics and put it on this robot. So let's see here, or was it vice versa? I think it was the vice versa. This robot had combined assault first. Anyway, so it's a melee boy. It has recharge. Does really reliable damage. Gives you some energy back. Good robot. E-Jet 400. Ethrael had an E-Jet. They're kind of like the foot soldier sort of disposable unit of the Imperial realm. So I thought it just kind of thematic for Ethrael to have one too. This art is by Zarin Scribbles. Nathan, he's really good. He's I've kind of spec'd him into drawing E-types for some reason. He's done quite a few of those in the set. He did Ender, and he did this one. I think he did an L. But yeah. Just like the first E-Jet, it has discounted movement. It can move 8 spaces for 4 energy. It shoots some stuff, and when it dies, it'll deal damage with Parting Shot. And then we'll go to the next one, which is Glah. Glah 400. This is like Ashla's Glah, except it deals damage. It has Gambit. Another cute Beyblade by Getting Trigger. And then we get to Ive, another Ive. This one flies. The other one had Retaliate because Ysis's kind of theme is attacking back on your opponent's turn or using your energy on your turn to do stuff. This one flies because Ethrael's team is good at flying. Also one of the better I-type arts in the whole game. I just like how this looks, the overlapping of it, the effects, everything about it. It recharges and quells. And then we get to Ethrael's combines. I like how simple. Ethrael's team is generally one of my favorites. It's just very simple. Her robots are simple, but she's still very strategic with how her movement stuff works. So yeah, Ethrael has a level 2 combine, just like Etwall does. It's an AE robot. This one lets you use. This one has Super Blitz, and it lets you move an ally for free when it comes into play. Not itself, but somebody else. That's cool. And then it just has a new attack that does 2 damage a turn, 100% of the time. Definitely a response to Ethrael is a commander for players who had gripes with AEGIS2. You can't screw up your dice rolls, and you can do more cool positioning stuff than the first game allowed. She's just good. Let's see. And then we get her other level 2, the Glaive. It's a Glah and an Ive. And this was kind of an idea. The concept of this robot was one of the first things we came up with in AEGIS2. Just a robot that was a Glah and a robot that was an Ive, and you put them together to make the Glaive. And it's neat. So yeah, it has a spinny attack like Glahs do, and it has a medium range quell attack like Ives do. It has Retaliate. It's just kind of an all-around pretty good robot. It's really restrictive to make since you need a Glah and an Ive, but it's pretty powerful and versatile to make up for that. And then we get to the Glaive 6000. Busted robot, strong robot. It does things that Glahs and Ives do. It does 2 damage a hit. You can Gambit for multiple damage. You can Gambit for more dice, and you could potentially just deal 8 damage to everything on the board. And it has Revengeance. One of the first. This was the robot that I think Revengeance was invented on. Something takes damage, it can run up with its sleeves rolled up and just beat your opponent into paste on their own turn if you save the appropriate amount of energy and it's positioned correctly. Just big cool knight. It's Ethrael's personal bodyguard because she's the cool princess and she needed a big beefcake. It's kind of like Princess Zelda in Spirit Tracks. She has the big armor thing. And then, but when Ethrael wants to join the fight, she can combine with it, and she can make the Echo Glaive. This is the only level 4 commander robot in the set, because leave it to the Imperial Realm to have all the coolest custom robots. It does stuff that Glaives do, it does stuff that Eyes do, it does stuff that Echoes do. And it has a new commander ability, where you can take this robot or your other remaining can take 1 damage to move for free, because this robot doesn't produce a lot of energy, so it felt a little constrained to use it. So we're like, what if it could just move for free by damaging itself? She flies so fast that pieces fly off of her. That goes along with what AEGI types kind of are built for anyway. They lack an S in them, so they're just kind of self-destructive. And it's cool. Like Elgelion was a big monstrosity AEGI in the first set that kind of damaged itself and damaged everything around it. And then this robot's similar, but still very different. Salazar's team, making good time, I think. Maybe. I was thinking we should probably just do this in 2 parts. But Salazar's team, precon team number 6. This would bring out pretty much all of the robots that we had 100% fully designed before the Kickstarter. We had all the robots were fully designed, but these were the 5. These 6 teams have seen the most testing across the last couple of years. A lot the most like changes and stuff. So yeah, Salazar. He's the main kind of villain in the set, sort of. He's kind of just an idiot, but he's a villain nonetheless. He has a special Shah. He burninates things. And he has a really versatile commander ability. That's very easy and fun to build around. He has an ability called Authority, and that just means your combined robots have reroll 1, including ones this robot is a part of. So it's the rare commander ability that kind of carries up. And lots and lots of possibilities there for combining. And so let's see, going into his team, similarly simple. He has 3 robots that he attacks with: the Shah, the Awe. This one shoots 2 rocket punches. And then the Ender 400, which also has critical. All 3 of his robots kind of have critical. We put Evade 1 on this robot because all of his combines require it to be made. So it gets to be a little bit more dexterous, a little bit harder to kill than your average Ender. And then Gone 500. This is a new mechanic in AEGIS2. I was excited to introduce the making of drones. So certain robots in AEGIS2 can create drones, and those are like just little 1 HP doodads. In Gon's case, it can make Gon drones, and there's a reference card for them, yada yada yada. Gon drones are basically just this robot, but smaller, and so it's just a 1 HP robot with beacon, and they move like 2 spaces, and that's all they do. So you can spawn these little beacon robots that make your opponents have to attack them. Well, they don't force your opponent to attack them, but if they're in range, only they can be attacked. They have like a flag bearer ability, or like a, taunt or something. So yeah, spawn those to your heart's content. Including when you combine with this robot, you get to poop out 1 last Gon drone to menace your opponent with. And then rounding out Salazar's team is another supportive robot called the AEGIS2. This is an S faction locked I type, and it does S stuff. So it has reroll built into it, and it has recharge. So it can move robots around. This is also similar to Indrix's team, where you want to set some things on fire with your other robots, and then you have the ability to like move stuff with this robot to proc the damage. But this robot, you spend 3 and you can basically move somebody 3. And if you roll a 1, the attack is free. If you roll 3 ones, you get 9 energy back. Basically, this robot's energy tentacle move is like always just good to use. That's all it does. It's just pure gain every time. You lose an attacker on your team by using this robot, but it's just kind of like pure utility. And then going into Salazar's combines, Sha 1000. This robot and the last robot were Gen Trigger, the gun before that, and the gun drones that we'll see later, maybe, are the work of Zarin. Scribbles. Actually, not a lot of Noah on this team, actually. Yeah, Noah did the Awe, and then Zarin did the Ender, and Zarin did the Gon. Again, did these two, the Dragon robots. So yeah, Sha 1000. Just like Indrix's shot, it shoots a thing, and then it has kind of like a melee range throw where you can throw something 5 spaces. And you can do both when it comes into play. So that's cool. And because it's like top attack as critical, sometimes you can get really lucky and you can pay 7, make this robot, and roll a bunch of 6s and blow something up. Your opponent be surprised. And then Ender 3000. Another Zarin robot, looks good. Bird. It's an Ender. It has anti-air attacks like all the other Enders do, which just deals damage to other flying robots. And then to make it more G-type-ish, it has a push. So when you combine into this robot, you can make a Gon drone with the Gon that you combined with, and then you can put it in front of this robot, and then you can push the Gon drone into something. It's stupid, but sometimes it's really good to just yeet a drone into somebody's face for 2 free damage. And then can do some other stuff too. Similarly, it has interaction with burn because you can set something on fire and then push them away to make them take damage. And then, second to last robot on this team, one of the top tier arts in the entire set and probably the entire game. The EGI robots get all the best art. So this is Endergon. Looks really cool on the card. Gen Trigger's masterpiece. This one has a lot of retweets on the Twitter machine. Endergon comes into play. It poops out 3 Gon tokens. And then you can also move them around. You could move one of them into the middle of your opponent's forces and then shoot at them with the Ender Bullet Storm on the bottom. And this is an example of a robot that can do 3 things. It's cool. And so basically you make your EGI robot and your AEGIS robot, and you can put them together to make what? Oh, and also I want to talk about the Endergon's flavor text really quickly. Etwall's level 3 robot was the Excelgon, and it was just kind of a big meat stick that flew around and killed things. Endergon is an EGI robot. So Salazar kind of dunking on Etwall, the main villain of the first game, being like, just sometimes you need more tact and to make the big spicy energy shrimp instead of just making a big man with a big sword. And then lastly, so yeah, you put your 5 robots together, and this is what Salazar's team's all about, is you can make the Ender Gansha, the robot on the front of the box. Big robot dragon. It shoot fire. This one was a really big pain to design, and it's still a big pain to design, but it's getting closer. The main idea of this robot is kind of based on a boss from Golden Sun called Star Magician, where there was a main body and it summoned little dudes and you had to fight them. You had to destroy the little dudes to harm the main body, and the little dudes would also be attacking you. That's what this robot does. It spawns Gon drones, but has this ability called Orbital Array that lets the Gon drones shoot at you with this robot's attacks. So you can, as you can see, it has main attack. It's called Bahamut Blazer. it does. It's kind of a mix of an Ender, like bullet machine gun attack, and a Shah fire blast attack. It has blaze and anti-air. It has some radial because it's art D type. It's cool. Gun defense network poops out guns, and then detonation is the one I'm iffy on. But basically, it'll deal 1 damage to itself and everything to around it, which means you can detonate your guns and do stuff. You can detonate your guns and kill them to deal damage to the opponent, like little floating bombs. And this is a very interesting design to do, because sometimes this robot's probably gone through like 10 different iterations. Sometimes die in a turn, and other times it will be completely unbeatable. We're still trying to find the kind of middle point of that. And then let's see. Now I can take a breather. Let's take like a 1 second intermission. How you doing, Yampy? What are your thoughts on the first 6 AEGIS teams in second ignition?
I'm excited. I think, let's see. I'm trying to think which one my personal favorite is. I liked playing with Indrix a lot the other night. That was really my first experience with him, but I had a lot of fun, so he's definitely up there. I'm trying to think. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Challenger team, which we haven't quite seen yet, so, but I would say out of the 6 so far, I am big fan of Indrix, so.
Yeah, Indrix is pretty cool. One of my favorite character designs, and also just like it has that wombo combo-iness. It's more thinky than Ashla can be pretty thinky too, with like when and where you combine, but like it's unlike some of the other teams where it's just like I'm gonna move you and I'm gonna shoot. Indrix cares a lot about like your order of operations and your positioning and things like that. And pretty cool. And then I think my personal fave is I like how clean Ethrael's team is. Whoa. since we started streaming, I just refreshed the Kickstarter, and like a lot of people have just decided to back in the last hour. I don't know why. It's always interesting. You'll go through it. People have been backing pretty steadily all day because we're heading towards the end of the campaign, but it's always really interesting when like nothing will happen for an hour or 2 hours or 4 hours or 8 hours. All of a sudden 5 people will kind of like jump in and all back within like 5 minutes of each other. So yeah, that's very interesting. Needless to say, we have totally hit our newest stretch goal. So that was not... Oh, wait, no, we haven't. What? I think we balance out.
I think we did, and then we no longer did, and now we're very close to doing it again.
Wait, how did that math work out? Because last person who dropped was this person. And then 2 more people backed them, and then we went back down, and then we back up. Oh, I see. It's because most of the recent backers were for like the first like $60 or $80 tiers. All right. That's the hard part about running a campaign where like your main pledge is apparently $50. Blessed be it all of our $150 backers. Every time one cancels, it's really it makes the number go down a lot. But then every time someone backs, it makes the number go up a lot. So cool, I guess. Let's see. So so yeah, our backer number has actually gone up, but our number, our cash amount has gone down.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so we had a lot of backers at the lower tiers, in the last hour or 2. And all right, so let's see, Big Talkie. So that's Robot 54. Luckily Now that we're good, now we're going to get into the back half of the set, where the robots are a little less final. And we're always looking for playtesters. Very important. We're going to be doing some tournaments and stuff hopefully soon, but we're always looking for playtesters to playtest both 2-player and solo mode, especially with some of these later unlocked teams and robots. We're also going to obviously need to test a lot of the backer commanders that we're designing, so that'll be exciting. And we're laughing. We're $6 off from 88,000. Will somebody please add a dice pack to their pledge? So alright, back to the robot mine. Where is... Alright, so now we're going to look at the Challenger Team. Challenger Team is team number 7. And this team's gimmick is different from the first 6 teams. All the first 6 teams had a commander with 4 basic robots and then 4 combines. The combined makeups were different, but the more or less pretty symmetrical. So the Challenger Team is interesting. This is kind of us doing a little bit of an experiment. So you can pick one of 4 different commanders, and each of them will work with the rest of the team and make them work a little bit differently. So the first commander is Micah the Red, which we unlocked so many stretch goals ago, but we don't have his art in this folder yet. We have his art finished. We don't have his design tested yet. So we're going to look at Un, Falsetto, and Sindane. So Un has a raccoon commander robot, and Un's ability, Un's gimmick is that she's not the commander. Her ally Raka is. And it has an ability called Instinct that will basically turn Aegis into a roll to move game, where after one of your robots is damaged, you can roll a die and scurry away a random exit. And that's going to be interesting. That has some interesting synergies with some of the other robots on the team. Next, we have Sindane on her Get 900. And Sindane is a machineless commander from AEGIS2, designed by a backer of the same name. Sindane is a pirate queen, and she now has a Get, which is the hook robot. There's quite a few of them in AEGIS2, but we absolutely weren't going to give her any other type of robot. Like, come on. The pirate queen's got to have the hook robot. And her ability is kind of like a circle of protection from magic, where you can stop non-combat damage. And like non-combat damage is like different. It can be like collision from being pushed into stuff. It can be damage from like blaze and rust and other status effects and things like that. So she's just very tanky, and she has an ability. In her main attack, the Captain Hook can pull robots in from like an absolutely absurd 6 radius. She basically covers like 1/3 of the 2-player board. 2/3 of the 2-player board, and she can like pull robots in that. And she has Gambit also. Cool, simple robot. And then we go to Falsetto, the Robot King in all caps, and he's the 3rd commander of the Challenger Team. And he's like drone focused, so he was going to make SAR drones, which are new, and they basically, I don't know if we have the ref card on hand, but they're just they have 1 HP and produce 1 energy, and they actually have a little attack on them that they'll shoot with. They have like they're basically little turrets that you can spawn, and they're cool. And Falsetto's ability is that after he screws up a die roll, he can activate again. Or any drone. If he screws up, you can activate a drone and shoot with a drone. So that's kind of neat. So it's his false army ability. Like the idea for his character name and his robot ability name came about at the same time. It's like Falsetto, his ability is false army. He has stuff to do with drones. Originally, his ability was that your drones could combine, and we figured out really quickly that that wasn't going to work for 500 reasons. So then he kind of became like a swarm commander that makes more drones. And like he has a cool robot. I think, yeah, all three of these commanders were by Noah. The Raccoon, the Get, and the Falsetto Sar. And all three, not all three character arts. Sindane's by Daniel Olson from the first set. She doesn't get a new art. But Un and Falsetto are both Noah pieces. Noah designs. Let's see. And then going into the Challenger team's 4 robots, the 4 basic robots, we have Arc 200. This is one of many robots where the flavor text is placeholder, and it's a melee robot. This was originally on Ethrael's team. You can kind of tell it has critical and recharge and has jet. We've been swapping this and the E-Jet back and forth. We actually put the E-Jet onto Ethrael's team to make her less good. So strong tech, when you get the game, and if you're one of the people who's watching the stream, just put this robot onto Ethrael's team, and Ethrael's team becomes real good, because then she can make more of her combines and all that. But yeah, on this team, we needed an A robot, so this team could actually, make combines. But yeah, it's a strong melee attack. It's a strong melee attacker. It can jump over terrain and punch the opponent in the face. Very good. Also, this is the first art that Zarin Scribbles did. He goes, Nyoo! And then next we have the Amari, a new E-type subclass. That's a non-flying sort of manta ray robot. Has a new ability called Stealth, which means the robot can't be targeted if there's something else that you could target instead. It's just kind of like Reverse Beacon. And let's see, it's an E-type with Quell Attack. It just goes. It has like a little sonar echolocation thing, and it quells enemy robots. And then we get into one of the cutest G-type robots in the game, the Gon 600. A lot of 600s. It's just kind of like the apex of this robot type. So Gon 600, it has beacon, and it shoots things. No, it doesn't. It has beacon, so things have to shoot it. But it has like this Black Panther thing going on, where it absorbs damage, and then it goes boom kaboom, and it hits everything around it for damage equal to the damage on it. And it's a really cool robot, and kind of like a payoff. You can make your team of 5 Gons now, because this robot deals damage. So let's see here. Can you make team 5 Gons? No, there's only 4 Gons, but you can make 4 Gons and. Oh, and also to go along with there's another sub theme of this team, which may or may not stay right now. 2 of the robots have Parting Shot, which deals damage when the robots die. This robot has Parting Gon, and this will poop out a Gon token when it dies. So it kind of replaces itself as like a last, hurrah. And we have SAR 600, one of the wildest robot arts that Noah did. And you're gonna see some really cool ones. This one and the next few combined robots were all kind of done back to back. SARs can't move; they're nailed into the ground, and we usually give them a thing to kind of supplement that. The first SAR in AEGIS2 has combat drop, so even though it can't move, you can dump it anywhere on the board. And then another SAR in AEGIS2 has arcing, so you can shoot stuff from far away. This robot has a really huge radius if you do shoot something. It's basically like a 9 hex diameter, 2 damage blast. Of course, the only downside is that if this robot's nailed into the ground into your start zone, you only have so many different like lines of sight that you have from there. So you can make tokens and then target the tokens to be like the center point for your explosions and things like that. It's cool.
I can speak from experience that this robot is absolutely terrifying to fight.
It's so good. Before it was just kind of bad, and I keep noodling the numbers up and up and up to make it more silly. And of course, also it has recharge. So if you screw up the die roll, it'll at least be free. So it's just a good robot all around. And just like Gon, it replaces itself when it dies with the SAR token. And then we get to the combines. This is actually Noah's favorite art last time I checked that he did for our game. The SAR 2000. It's a dinosaur. It has a tail cannon and a mouth cannon. It's a SAR mixed with a G-type. It can move a little bit now. It can kind of like stomp and hobble along. But yeah, it has an aimed attack with a radius and an aimed attack with a really ridiculous range and anti-air. And depending on which one you want to use, it depends on the situation. Their accuracies are slightly different. We already changed the name of this ability, but it has an ability called Sharding SAR. It's now called Fragment. So Fragment SAR. Damage. When this robot gets damaged, it makes SAR tokens in adjacent spots. So it'll just kind of like build out an army of SAR drones, little turret dudes, as the robot takes damage. And it also recovers you energy when you make it too. It's also really cheap to make. So this is just it continues the pattern of GS robots being really good in Aegis. It's just it just blows your opponent up from really far away. On the cheap. And then actually, you know what? I forgot to mention, Yempy, you have a connection with these robots.
I do sort of, yeah, a little bit. I think mainly the 5000, right?
Yeah, I actually have to look it up. I think was your base design. I have to I forgot to look this up ahead of time, but you gave me designs for this robot, just the SAR 2000, as just the idea of a GS robot that had 2 different cannons to it, and you just choose one or the other. And then you also made this next robot, the SAR 5000, which had they've changed over time, but the initial concept of SARs, the initial concept of an action that creates SARs that triggers a bunch of times on combined.
Yeah.
And I took that idea and I put it onto the Endergon EGI robot from earlier. And so that's a Yampy design innovation. But yeah, this robot recently gained a 3rd attack, and now it's completely bonkers. It summons SARs. It pushes from really far away. It shoots you. What can't it do? So that's neat. Big pterodactyl robot. I like how its art covers the flavor text. It's flavorful. It's also a reference to I forgot to point out the Glaive 6000's flavor text earlier, but it's if you hear the whoosh, you're getting cruished. And this one was if you hear the screech, you're getting, and then it just says I can't hear you. Anyway, so it's cute. One of the cooler robot designs too. And then I never put the art for the Gonsaur on the Gonsaur card, which is funny because it's actually our Twitch thumbnail. So yeah, we can go to the next robot. Gonsaur, it's an AEGIS robot. This art's from AEGIS1. I drew this. But it has really ridiculous, bombastic AEGIS2 art that you can see on our away image on our Twitch. It has giant chompy dinosaur hands. It shoots big damage beams from far away. This robot's actually still under design construction. It might gain a third attack. We might change some stuff about it. But it'll do things that Gons and SARs do. It defends, it shoots from far away, and then it's going to have kind of an ultimate version of this fragment ability where it'll like generate a whole bunch of different types of tokens whenever it's damaged. And then finally we get to that wraps up the Challenger team still under construction. It's going to get a 4th combine because it only has 3 at the moment. We're designing a 4th combine right now. The next 3 robots after the Challenger team are backer commanders. I'm very excited to show you some of those. We're also going to see if we can make those work with the Challenger team, just so they're not straggling in the box. So maybe the Challenger team will have 7 commanders that you can use with it. But yeah, like, so Un works with the Challenger team because she can make robots that normally have bad movement, like the Gon and Sar, which has 0 movement. She can make them roll dice to move. Sindane can pull those robots upwards, and Falsetto kind of like goes all in on the team's like drone strategy. And currently the version of Micah that we're working with will let you activate he's going to have like a red robot that does punchy things, but you can use, when he activates, you can use any of your ally pieces on the board and act as him. So like if you have like a 0 movement SAR drone, you can run up for it for 5 or 6 or whatever Micah's robot has, and then melee punch it. And that's going to be another way to cheat movement with some of the lower movement robots in this lower movement robots on this team. And so we're triaging all the horrible rules conundrums that will cause at the moment, but it's going to do something like that. So yeah, Challenger team, cool. Next we have some of these. So this is another thing that's under construction. We actually were just working on these during the campaign. In the original design, we had these 5 kaiju robots, but they were kind of like stragglers in the box. In the first Aegis game, we had 100 robots and 80 of them were on pre-built teams. In AEGIS2, we're going to try to make it so like every single robot in the box is allocated onto a pre-built team. So if you're not a team builder or you just want to use the cool giant kaiju robots, there will be a team for that. So there's going to be 5 kaiju robots, and then we're going to peel some robots from elsewhere in the set that you'll see in a little bit, and make a kaiju centric team. And that's going to be team number. That's going to be like the actual true final team of the set. You don't really have to even unlock that though. We're good. So that's going to be cool. But yeah, let's look at some of the kaiju robots, which are definitely also still under construction a bit. But we'll start off with the Ika 3000. It's an IS robot. Gen Trigger masterpiece. What a gross looking energy squid. Ika, pretty much all the kaiju robots have this emerge ability, which is new. Where if it's in your fusion deck, like combined pool, you can just pay 10 energy, and no matter where your component robots are, they don't have to be next to each other. You can just pay 10, snap your fingers, and then this robot will pop up into play into your start zone. And then all of them kind of have combined abilities. So this one will shoot something 8 spaces away, and it has like a 3 radius, and it'll move everything and rust everything in that like 3 radial explosion. So if you actually make this on turn 1, you can get like a bunch of free movement off of this robot, or you could like use it on your opponents to like wiggle them into like a place. So it doesn't do conventional damage, but it's a very Very weird supporty robot. Next we have a robot with no art yet. This one and Indrix's level 4 are being done at the same time, actually, by Gen Trigger, so look forward to some of the absolute wildest giant monster art that you've ever seen. Arc 4000. Arc hasn't had a level 3 before, but now it does. This robot has emerged. It's going to have a damage boosty and a powerful attack. Pretty straightforward. We're still working on this one, though. We might give it some other things to it, but it's going to look like... the final art is going to be designed after Gigan from Godzilla, with his big saw/sword arms and big sword fin head, and it's going to look really cool. Just gonna kind of lean into like the Godzilla references. And then we have the IVE 5000, which does have final art. And this robot is also mostly final design. We're looking at one weird use case. So this is cool. So this is a robot that it literally, you read it on its first attack, it cuts an opponent's integrity in half. And then it kind of cuts it in half again, and it cuts it in half again. And it's really strong, specifically against bosses that start with like 18 to 20 HP in solo mode. And we need to figure out how that interacts. But we're also taking Retaliate off of this, absolutely, 100%. This robot can't have Retaliate or something. But yeah, this robot's still being balanced, but the design is there. And then its bottom attack just deletes all the text off a robot. It quells them, so it removes all the weapon tags, and it'll get rid of all of their passive abilities too. So that's also really powerful and cool. And then we get to Esogoth Orb, another Gen Trigger thing. I think Gen Trigger is going to end up doing like Kaiju robots. This one it's made out of an Eso and a Goth. It does rusty things. It does defense buffy things. It's cool. It's modeled after the giant flying orb from... What the... It's modeled after the giant flying orb from Giant Robo, The Day the Earth Stood Still. So it's basically just giant invincible ball that will drain and grind your opponents into nothing through like big EMP blasts. And then lastly, for the Kaiju, and we're actually adding one or two more Kaiju combines too. We're doing this is level 5 robot. Like Endergansha, it's a big Endergansha is a big dragon. This is a big squid robot. It's level 5. They kind of work like in opposites of each other. They're both centered around doing drone stuff and summoning drones. They both have X cost middle attacks. This robot, instead of making like an array of shields to defend itself, it'll make like a whole bunch of like pew pew shooty shoots to attack you with. And if any of them die, it'll actually get to activate with Revengeance and do things. Its Rage of Ocean attack lets you move basically everything else in play that's in line of sight. So that's like its big super Ica thing. And then it'll shoot you with little pew pews until you're dead. It's a cool, very cool robot with how it manipulates positioning, and you're basically like playing a tower defense game. And then so that completes like deck 2-ish of the box. We need to figure out how we're actually splitting the cards up since you guys have unlocked so many things. Let me catch my breath really quick. What do you think of... What's your color commentary on Squiddlepods, Yampers?
Very fun. I am excited to get to use these and see what other people do with these and the whenever we have the next tournament. So I feel like I'm trying to think. I know I've seen the SO Gotham play in a stream a little while ago. I feel like I've seen the Arc 4000 somewhere. I might have used it myself, but a lot of these big Kaiju bots are just very, very fun. So,
thank you, by the way, for adding $7 to your pledge or $6 to your pledge.
Oh yeah, then bump us over. But then somebody went and like took $5 away from there, so we were five under. But now it seems to have. We seem to have gotten.
Yeah, now we're back comfortably above 88,000 again. It's actually funny. Like in the last hour, we've had more activity on the campaign than in the entire rest of the day. So I don't know if it's just because we're streaming or something.
It might be like people are trying to get on the stream or whatever. Like,
yeah, right.
Change the numbers and.
Yeah, shout out to the homie who we were at exactly 88,000. He canceled their $5 pledge. Absolute villain. All right, let's see. All right, now lastly, these are the last. That takes us up to roughly Robot 75. There's still like all those empty spots in the middle for backers and other kaiju stuff. Now we can do the last two unlocked things, which don't have final. These cards are ugly. We haven't like settled. I haven't like done the fancy art on them yet and stuff like that, and given them the fancy treatment because they're still very much being play tested. Like we're actively like redesigning and culling robots from these, but they're shaping up to be really good. So this gets to our Ainer and Stell teams, two returning characters from AEGIS2. For those who like our ongoing, which you can read about in the AEGIS 1 and 2 scenario books, available for $19.99. Or you pay us $5 on our store and you can get the PDF of the AEGIS 1 scenario book, like someone totally ordered today. And I'm like, oh wow, I forgot. I don't even know how they found our store, since our store URL now redirects to Kickstarter. They had to like dig for our store to give us $5. But if you can find our Square store, you can get the Aegis 1 scenario book PDF. So Ainer and Stell, heroes from the Five Nations War. They're the first people in modern times to wake up a 5-letter robot. Ainer fought at Wall, and they kind of beat the tar out of each other. And Ainer like barely won. He got like a win asterisk, and he made the Arc Infinity. And then Stell, the first Kaiju robot showed up in Aegis 1, which was basically the Elgelian was basically a Kaiju and a foreshadowing of all these other Kaiju robots in this set. Where it was a sentient robot and it started blowing things up in the plot. And Stell combined with it to make the Azazel Sol, which is her level. And so we brought both of these characters back to see what they're up to. And also, for like a few reasons. Number one, we wanted more than 2 5-letter robots in the box. That's always... That's a big sort of thing that people want from our Voltron game, is to make more Voltron robots. Who would have thought? And then whatchamacallit? Number two, it's like we were actually thinking about designing these two as like their own little dual deck, like retail product, like an Ainer versus Stell sort of like 2-player thing. We might still do that, but we need to like work out the manufacturing logistics of it. And like it'd be cool if you bought this dual deck and both of the characters had level 5s, and like who has level 5? Ainer and Stell. And it's funny, both of these characters, Neo Ainer and Neo Stell, were originally designed as tournament winning promos. Like whenever you win an Aegis tournament in our Discord, you get the right to bully me into making one of your ideas. And Dars, who's a regular on our stream, he's like, what if punished Ainer? Like, what if Ainer with an eye patch? And he did this thing and that thing. And then Goji, who also shows up here sometimes, he won a tournament and he was like, what if Stell was in a cowboy hat? And what if I want a sheriff themed robot or something like that? And so those were originally just going to be one like promo pack, like the tournament and convention promos. But when the time arose to extend AEGIS2 from 75 robots to 100 robots, they answered the call and like, well, we have these two commanders, and it's cool to bring back old characters, and it's cool that they both have level 5s, and it just kind of like came together. The whole concept kind of came together really quick, and that's like the story behind these two teams. And these two teams are also designed by not me, really. I did a majority of the game design in this game. Lots of people helped with the balance and lots of other adjustments. But like the core kind of ideas for the first few teams were like me. These two are our other designer, Kettle, Zach Kettle, or Kettel, as he likes. And we he's kind of taken up the helm on that. And then like I do a pass, like I'll do like, let's make this simpler, let's do this, let's do that. But anyway, let's go through these last robots, and they're kind of ugly unfinished cards, but they do still have the art on them, and they'll obviously look better when I get to do the beautification pass, as it were. So anyway, Arc 075. Ainer's robot in Aegis 1 was Arc 150. This robot's missing an arm now, so it's the Arc 075. That said, it and then it has a new ability. This is cool, where you can the first robot you attack with can take a damage to get like a menu of things. Sindane did this in the first Aegis box, where whenever you screwed up a die roll, you could get like a free movement, a free energy, or like a free something else. This one is the first robot you attack with can get +1 damage, +1 range, or reroll until end of turn. And so he has like kind of a reckless abandon sort of thing going on. I think his final ability name might be Reckless Fire, which has like a triple entendre meaning. And then we're going to go to second robot here, the Ashla 200. This robot is not in the set anymore. It got replaced. Really good art though by Zarin Scribbles. This one came out really good. It'll make its way onto a card eventually. If not in this set, then in the next one. Go 600. Near the end of development, we started talking to even more artists. So this one's by the Jeeb, Jiva Kapalong on Twitter. This gets into one of Ainer's sub themes. Ainer's team is about pushing, because AEGIS2 didn't have enough pushing stuff. Everyone really liked Yoon's team in the first box. We need to put more in this box, right? So this team has robots that can push themselves along an axis, and they will kind of yeet themselves into walls and into other robots. And it's also really good to like do better movement than a robot would normally be able to do. It's kind of an abstract concept, but we'll have space to explain it in the rules boxes. But anyway, so yeah, Go 600. It hits a rocket-powered Go. It's gonna go woof and go whoosh. It has Gambit and stuff, and if it's already staying near something, it can also just push something 4 spaces. Ainer's fourth robot, it's an Izzy. It is similar to, it's kind of like Einer's team on this is kind of a big reference to his team in Aegis 1. So he has a Go here, he has an Izzy. Izzy's are retaliation robots. This one sets robots on fire. This art rules. It's again trigger art. He has like a flame whip. Then we'll go to Ainer has a Shah. We actually do have art for this Shah, but this is just Indrix's Shah. We haven't put the new Shaw art on here yet, but this is like the most basic Shaw. It's Shaw 100. It'll shoot things. It'll give you some recharge because we wanted more S robots with recharge. And then we have the original design for these two teams is that, like AEGIS2, they would have 5 basic robots and 2 sideboard robots, so you can do a little bit of team customization. No one does that. No one kind of likes that. I think new players don't really like it. So that's actually where we're getting the 4 robots for the Kaiju team from. We're just removing 2 robots from Ainer's 7 bot team and 2 robots from Stell's 7 robot team, and those are either getting moved or redesigned with Ashla's robot. Ashla's second Omni robot, and then you'll be able to make Ichthyosaur, the Ichthyosaur Kaiju team. So yeah, Esper 400. This robot's staying on to Ainer's team. It's good. It has stealth. It has evade. It shoots things. First instance of another new ability that we introduced on Ainer Stell, called Precise. This is a kettle idea. Basically, you shoot something, and if it's the maximum distance away, the robot has +1 accuracy. And both Ainer and Stell have commander abilities that can alter your range, so that like interacts with that too. So like if you give a robot plus range, it'll interact with Precise, and you can get accuracy boosties off that. And then Sal 500. This is another robot that I think is getting killed from the set and will show up later. Which is sad because this robot is pretty cool. It's a healer robot because there's no real repair robots in AEGIS2 at the moment. So it's a repair robot that can blaze things. But we'll revisit that concept at some point. And then we get into Ainer's combines. So Ainer has this Izzy, which is the dog. It goes woof. It's also Ainer has like a blaze sub theme. So he has a bunch of robots with blaze. So similar to level 1 Izzy, this guy has retaliate. It has blaze. It'll do stuff. Has a little bit of radial on it. Just strong EI robot. All EI robots are good. There's like 5 or 6 of them now. And then Go 3000, which we did show the art for in the Kickstarter update where we unlocked Ainer. We just haven't put him on this card yet. He has a ranged push, and it has a mortar blast, and it has ignition because more robots in the game need ignition. It is just haste. And what better place to put it than on Ainer's team? Because Ainer is the only robot with ignition from AEGIS1, so you know. So yeah, Go 3000 has ignition. It can come into play and just start beating you with big blasts and pushes. Another instance of GS robots being really strong. And then, like I said, all this is still in testing. So, and then not finally, but Ainer and both Ainer still have 5 combines to them. They'll have 2 level 2s, a level 3, a level 4, and a level 5. And so that's neat. Art Go doesn't have the art on it, but it is shown on. It's actually quite a popular tweet on our Twitter account, and we also pasted it in Ainer's introductory Kickstarter update. This robot pushes itself into things. It does a whirly-dirly slash, and then it can shoot over walls. It has final ignition, which is an ability that showed up on Arc Infinity, the level 5 robot in the first box. It's like, well, we should just use more mechanics that already exist. So we put final ignition onto this robot, which lets it have haste and generate energy. And also it's another level 3 arc. When we had designed the Kaiju level 3 arc, this robot didn't exist. But now there's 2 level 3 arcs in the set. What are you going to do? But yeah, it's also the Arc Go, which I would have thought of, but it's a pretty cool name. It's a nice little reference to like Tetsujin 28 Go and like other things like that. And Ainer's level 4 robot, which we do have incredible art, which we have not shared anywhere yet. Go 8000 is a meteor with limbs. It throws itself into things, it blasts out. So it's kind of like still it's a thing. It's like an evolution of the Arcos' design. This one's part E-type though, so it can do even more movement gimmicks, where it can like fly. It can fly. It can jump around the board and stuff like that. This one's actually gone through. This is like an outdated card, but it'll do. It's a meteor with limbs. And lastly, Arc Infinity, which will have fancy new art that we previewed in Einer's update. Follows the trend. It has the thing where it will push itself into things, and then it will push things. It'll push itself into things. It'll push things away from it. And then, of course, it has a really powerful blade attack. And this is the second robot that Arcbuster shows up on. So this robot can attack 3 times on a turn, and you can do all sorts of weird, cool stuff with it because we want level 4 and level 5 robots to be fun and weird. Because you're only staring at one card, so you should still have to think really hard about, like, what am I going to do with this? What's the best course of action? I have so many actions to do with this robot, etc., etc. And then finally, we're getting to Stell's team, the final team in the box. Well, before the Kaiju team or after the Kaiju team, but Stell's team in the box, which we just unlocked, assuming we haven't had any cancels in the last 10 minutes. Have we?
It looks like we're above the number.
No, we get number go up. Somebody backed for 5 and then upgraded to 150. Absolute hero. Everyone give her applause for these wonderful individuals who are piling into our campaign on the last couple days. Make number go up real good. And we're gonna hit those goals. So yeah. Stell, designed by co-designed by Goji. This is also still under construction, but she's a cowboy now. Ainer is a grizzled amputee war hero because he fought at Wall and got his butt kicked and then kidnapped, and then he didn't receive any medical attention. But Stell's had it kind of better. She has cool new outfit, and she's kind of been studying up on what level 5 robots are. And so she's like kind of off on her own little world while Salazar is doing his stupid tournament thing. So yeah, Stell has a Saul type robot again with this little sun on its back. It's a revolver this time because she's a cowboy. And her ability is called Long Arm of the Law, thought up by Goji, the person who designed kind of this robot. And it lets you pay energy to make your robots have longer range. And it's neat. And that interacts with Precise. Next we have Arrows. Arrows 500. It damages. It repairs. It has Precise. You combine with it, it'll do repair. So in certain specific situations, this robot's just bonkers because, like, if you repair something from 3 spaces away, or, destroy something from 3 spaces away, you can get 100% accuracy with this robot. So this is kind of a really fun concept. And then we go to L3000, which will definitely look better when we put final background on it. This is a combat drop E-type. Combat drop was a mechanic from AEGIS2. It was bad. We're redesigning combat drop. This is something we've been talking about in our Discord for a long time. All the combat drop robots from AEGIS2 are going to be in that upgrade pack that you can get on the Kickstarter. Current version of combat drop is not on this robot. These are outdated cards. Current version of combat drop lets you start with the robot off the board, and then instead of attacking, one of your other robots can summon it from off of the board and put it into play within like 4 hexes. And you can it's like your robots are like playing like a relay race with one another. Like you run up and then you activate combat drop, you drop a guy in, then a new robot can activate and that combat drop another guy in. And it's we want to just make combat drop actually fun and interesting and cool to use. And that's what we did. And then Goth 500, not on Stell's team anymore, but it's gonna be on the Kaiju team. See, but it's just we also have art for this too. Zarin Scribbles did really good art, and we're really just playing into the fact that Goths are robot dogs. So this one, the new one, looks like a dachshund. It's really stupid. But you know, when you have 100 robots, it's perfectly fine to go really silly with some of the concepts. But yeah, this you combine with it, it gives a defense buff. Next, Ion. Ion has another new ability called Combine Drop, which is an ability made based almost entirely off of the name. I'm like, what if we had a combined ability that was Combat Drop? So Combine Drop, don't trust the text here. It's probably really outdated. If you combine with this robot, the new robot can come into play at the end of the turn in any start zone on the board. That's the current wording we're testing. So basically you combine with this robot, the new robot that comes into play doesn't come into play. You miss out on the combine action. Or I think you get to do the combine action and then remove it from the board, something like that. But anyway, it disappears for a turn, and then you get to pop it into play either in your start zone or your opponent's start zone, yada yada yada. And it's kind of neat because it can make you or your opponent really scramble. And we'll see if it's like oppressive. It doesn't really seem like it. Doesn't really seem very oppressive at the moment, but it's a thing that we are testing. And of course, Gel 300. It has combat drop and combine drop. Another art by Zarin Scribbles. And just the idea here is that it's a gel with a jetpack. You combine with it, it comes into play on its jetpack, and you combine with it, and it zoomies off on its jetpack. L and Gel both are both of your combat drop robots in this set right now, and they come into play and they just shoot missiles at your opponent. Then we have the Ethrael, which sucks because this is a great robot. It's a greatly designed robot, and it's not in the set anymore. But yeah, good art by Zarin again. It'll come back at some point if we don't find a way to squeeze it back into the set. But it's an Ethrael. It combat drops in. It has a radial energy blast, so it's like it has stealth. It has like really good design synergy with combat drop and stuff. Arrows 1000. Cool new art by Jiva again. One of the coolest AG robots, probably the coolest AG robot art that we have in the set. It's like a ballista mantis. Simple though. It has an arcing damage attack and it defense buffs when it comes into play, and it can do both because it's an arrows. Yeah, that's this robot. It's simple and powerful. L3000, another Zarin Scribbles art that we did not cut from the set. This, both just because of set design needs, both Ainer and Stell ended up having an EI robot, so now like EIs are the most abundant level 2 robot type. And so this robot was originally concocted because I wanted Stell to have a stealth bomber, and it's just spelled stealth bomber, like ELLTH. Yeah, it's a stealth bomber stuff though. It's kind of like a top-down design stealth bomber. It has stealth. It vanishes when it comes into play. Another mechanic from AEGIS2 that we should have used more, and so we are now. And then it does bomby stuff. And it can also reduce, it has defense debuff, which is rare but powerful. It'll make other attacks deal +1 damage on those guys that are debuffed. Not lastly, Both Ainer and Stell have a commander-specific level 3 because they're cool characters and they deserve it. So Elsol, which we have amazing art for, that I didn't put it in the update. I'm so stupid. I put in her cool arrows combines and stuff in the update, but I had neglected to actually share Stell's specific level 3 like I did with Einer's. Anyway, this is the Elsol. It's a gun dragon. It's like a Kieran with a revolver for a head. I'll post it on Twitter later. This one's still under construction too. It's just like designs like pretty much totally up in the air. It'll shoot things, it'll energy drain things, it'll repair things. First attack will have 6 shots because that's what revolvers do. Level 4 robot, shared in the most recent update I made right before the stream. Arrows 8000, robot cool. One of Noah's fastest turnarounds and coolest designs, especially for how complicated it was. The gimmick with this robot is that if things take damage within a certain radius, that damage happens to other robots in that radius too. It's like an echo chamber sort of thing. Something that we haven't done a lot, but when you get to level 4s and 5s, you can kind of start experimenting with definitely like weirder abilities. So yeah, cool for positioning, cool for it like procs off of like different status effects too, and things like that. This robot's also very much under construction. This is not a final card. And then Arizal Saw, final robot of the set. Whew. So Arizal Saw is also getting new art, just like our community is. We haven't figured out who's doing it yet, but it's gonna look really legit. The gimmick with this robot, because the first game's Arizal Saw has this thing where you're trying to build up energy over time to then like ulti with her giant arcing space laser. This is like a little bit different from that. It still costs a lot of energy to make this robot, but now it has this attack called Stellar Orbit. You can pay 2 energy to use any other robot as an origin point for your actions. And this is weird. It works pretty intuitively. So all of this robot's attacks are radial. So normally it would just shoot out from you, but you could also choose an opponent's robot and then it would shoot out from them. And it wouldn't harm the robot that's using it, which is kind of funny.
Or you can make a team around Gon tokens and use your Gon tokens as the origin point. There's a tournament team idea for someone.
Absolutely. So this is actually a really cool design. I think Kettle came up with this one. It's very unique and intuitive. So yeah, it has like a first attack that just like drops a bunch of blow up blasts on somebody. And the second one is like a pull. It's like a gravity well where you can choose an origin point and it'll pull everything in. And then there's an energy drain where you can like drain and disarm a bunch of jerks. This is also level 5s and level 4s and 5s generally always need the most testing for how weird they are, but that's like the core design idea here is pretty set with the whole changing of origin points on the map. And it also gets really hectic in like 4 to 6 player too, especially when the board's really crowded and you're like, actually, hello player 3, your random Gon token is now the origin point for my Aura of Annihilation. Thank you. So yeah, that's that. So we got there. It took us a while, but we got there. I'll make sure to put timestamps on this video so it's not just 2 hours of me rambling. So yeah, the final box, 10 pre-built teams, 4 level 5 robots. Each one's around a different strategy. Ashla's attacking, Ganith's damage, Indrix is wombo combo status effect. Salazar wants to build the giant level 5 dragon and does drone stuff. Ysis is energy drain. Ethrael can move real good. Challenger Team is more drone stuff, but heavier on the drone stuff. Ainer is like Blaze, Reckless Abandon, Punchy Punch Team, even more so than Ashla is. And then Stell's team is combat, is like a complex like combat drop bamboozle positioning sort of team. And then finally the Kaiju team will be very centered around combining. Currently our design is that all of the level have base combine abilities, so like mixing and matching which ones combine is going to be a lot of the strategy on that team to make your giant monsters, and that's going to be really neat. And that's gonna be AEGIS2. It's gonna be really cool. You saw some continuations of themes and robot types from AEGIS1. You saw a whole bunch of new stuff. Get to theory crafting. Make the most broken thing possible with the Aegis 1+2 robots. And then, yeah, I'll see you all again in 3 years when we're doing Aegis 3. And I accidentally scoped the game at 100 robots again, because I guess that's just now what we do. So yeah, hopefully we'll be able to refine a bunch of this stuff and ship it in a decent amount of time. So that's why we're always looking for playtesters, so we can ship the game on time and take in feedback, and hopefully have this game out by late summer or fall. And I can't wait. We got the money. We got the backers. We got the art done. We got all these really cool backer commanders that are going to have absolutely bizarre abilities. Very exciting. And thank you all so much. Working on this game for the last 4 or 5 years is draining, but seeing that people actually want it is encouraging. And now it's finally going to be like a real thing again, just like AEGIS1 was, and people are going to enjoy it. And then we'll keep adding to the wish list. Everyone asked for more accurate attacks, failed dice roll things, more tactics, alternating activation stuff after AEGIS1. We put all that in AEGIS2. And then, when we finally release this to the wild, we'll be paying attention to all of your feedback and what you have to say, especially, in our Discord and everywhere else. Be the one to help shape our next game, because we legitimately listen. So everyone's currently asking for co-op, including Rado from Rado Runs Through. I'm literally going to make Aegis 3 a co-op game just so we can finally get on that YouTube channel. So that's at the top of the list. We're going to have some co-op experimental stuff in the Aegis 2 scenario book, but we're going to try to then make some co-op-y main mode stuff in Aegis 3, I think. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. First, we have to make all these backer commanders in Aegis 2 work really well. Anyway, so that will take us to the end of this stream. Yeah, 3 days to go. I don't actually know when Kickstarter resets its time. Maybe it says 2 days by now, or whatever, but at some point it'll start ticking down at 60 hours, and that'll be the time where you start telling everybody on your most obscure subreddits to back our game. And with that, yeah, if you have any parting thoughts, EMP, I will sit here and breathe and take a drink of water.
I'm very excited to see this materialize. It's been quite fun, watching it develop over the past several years. So I'm excited, I mean, we've shattered so many stretch goals already, and like there's still plenty of time to get to the next, what, 94.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 94 is gonna where money's happening. People have been extremely active the last 1 or 2 hours during the stream specifically. That's encouraging.
Yeah, they have.
That you crows.
That is Crows. I
Get out
may
of here.
have been working
Shoot.
on the Aegis version of a rat.
Thank you.
It's not
yeah,
done
well-
yet.
I think so. Yeah, I don't know where all these people are coming from. I have no idea.
But the
We're
more the
all-
merrier.
Is it because the final? Did we get did the final notification email get sent out? I have no clue.
Well, did you make an update? Because if there was an update, then a bunch of people would be coming in.
No, if I made an update, that's usually when people drop because they're reminded they backed. But surprisingly, that's actually what happened to our friend's game. He would make an update, people would just drop. I have not seen any correlation on our campaign with that. So that's cool. But usually when I update, the drops aren't associated with it. But I have no idea. We did actually just hit the final hours thing though. It no longer says X days, it says 69 hours. And that's gonna be worth yet another Twitter meme post. So yeah. It's gonna be the next 69 hours of my life. It's hopefully going to go really well. And we're gonna get this game made. We're gonna hit 100K. We're gonna do it. We're gonna get as close to 1,000 backers as possible. It's gonna happen. And we're all gonna be really happy with it. And yeah. So let's power down for the night. Thank you everybody, and goodbye.